Hey, what's up, everybody? Just wanted to do another video with all the current news of RGBA affiliated fighters. In a couple days here in Carson, you're going to have Ruben Rodriguez from Indio. He fights at 140. He's an independent fighter under RGBA. He is 9-0, 3 knockouts. He was very, very active this year. He's with this fight, he'll fight. This is his 7th fight this year. This is his, on paper, this is his toughest challenge. He's fighting another undefeated fighter in Abraham Martinez from Las Vegas, who is 7-0, 5 knockouts. So, like I mentioned, he is very active. This will be his 7th fight. There's even a potential 8th fight for him before the end of the year if everything goes well for him. This is a top-ranked show in Carson. I believe the main event is Vergil versus Jason Sosa. So if you want to follow Ruben Rodriguez, you can follow him at RubenNR_. Also on the card, RGBA affiliate Ray Muratalla, a local fighter from Fontana, California. I believe he's been with RGBA for 3 or 4 fights now. He'll also be on that top rank show. He's fought on Golden Boy events. And we'll see if he gets signed on by one of his last fight. It was at the Pachanga Casino Resort with Top Rank as well in Temecula, California, over the summer. I believe it was in July, or June. If you want to follow him, he's at Ray_Muratalla1. Alexis El Macizo Espino. He is a middleweight. Who just turned pro with Robert. He's 4-0 with 2 knockouts. He has 24 amateur fights. He's from Las Vegas. He's trying to get down to 160. Some of his fights have been at catch weights, 165, 164, something like that. So he's scheduled to fight November 9th here at the Staples Center in Los Angeles on a Matchroom pay-per-view card between Logan Paul and KSI. So if you want to follow Alexis Espino, his Instagram is at @Alexis Espino1. Scheduled to fight on November 9th in Fresno at the I don't know how to pronounce this, Chuksanchi Park. I believe that's a AAA baseball team, that park. This event is being promoted by Rick Meridian with Top Rank, and the main event is Jamel Herring, a veteran fighter. I don't say veteran because he's a journeyman or anything, but I believe he's in the military. So the theme of the event that Rick is putting on is in appreciation of our military. So they're in Fresno. Esquiva Falcao, he's an Olympian. I believe he's an Olympian from 2012. 24-0, 16 knockouts. He fights at 160. He's a southpaw. He helped Mikey get ready for Errol Spence. Errol Spence is a southpaw. So Esquiva Falcao served as a sparring partner. He's been with Top Rank and with training with RGBA his entire career. So look out for this fight. On Instagram, you can follow him at Esquiva Falcao, Brazilian Olympian. Here you see his page on Instagram, where he wrote in Spanish or in the language that they speak in Brazil. Próxima luta de Esquiva Falcao el día 9 de noviembre, Esquiva NATV. Stevie Hitman McKenna is one of 2 brothers that very recently joined the RGBA team. Stevie fights at 140. He'll be fighting in the Hawaiian Gardens here in Los Angeles, California. The event is being promoted by Roy Engelbrecht. He fights at 140. He's 3-0 with 3 knockouts. On Instagram, you can follow him at Stevie_McKenna. His older brother is Aaron, and he fights at 147. There you see Stevie in a picture with Dominican Republic Jackson El Phoenix Marinez. Alejandro Porkchop Guerrero has very recently signed on with Cameron Duncan. He has a fight date of November 15th in Iowa. The event is being promoted by Samson Boxing. Porkchop is from, I believe, from Irving, Texas, in the Dallas area. He's 10-0 with 9 knockouts. I believe he turned pro with RGBA, and most of his fights were under the watchful eye of Robert Empita. If you want to follow him, he's at porkchop_214. I believe he fights at 135. Louie Coria will be fighting November 30th on a top-ranked show in Las Vegas. He is 12-2-0, and he'll be fighting Abraham Lopez for the NABF featherweight title that Abraham holds. So if you want to follow him, he's a local fighter from Moreno Valley. He fights at 135. He fights at 126. Excuse me. He's a featherweight, and you can follow him at King Louis 416. Carlos Caballo Bronco Adames, 18-0, 14 knockouts. He's been with RGBA for his last 2 or 3 fights this year. He is the current NABO and NABF champion at 154. His opponent is Patrick Tejeda. Sounds like the team is waiting to see what Jaime Munguia does with his title at 154 in order for title eliminators to be set in place and shots at the title to be negotiated. So Carlos Caballo Bronco Adames, 18-0, 14 knockouts. You can follow him on Instagram at Caballo Bronco. He's new to the team. I believe he's got 2 or 3 fights under his belt with Robert now, and he's Dominican Republic. At Caballo Bronco on Instagram if you want to follow him. Lindolfo Delgado, 11-0, 11 knockouts. He is on the right there. Misael is the other Olympian with the medal around his neck. Both of these guys are signed by Richard Schaefer's Ringstar Sports, and right now they're in negotiations to get a fight in Mexico for Lindolfo for the WBC International title in Nuevo León. I believe Lindolfo's from Linares, and Misael Chino Rodriguez is from Chihuahua. So all that is in negotiations. There have been some posters out there flying, but Robert shared via ES News earlier this week that they're still in the negotiation stages for this fight. If you want to follow him, he's at Lindolfo Delgado on Instagram. Vergil Ortiz Jr., 14-0, 14 knockouts. One of the most talented contenders in the stable. He's very, very disciplined. He is from Grand Prairie, Texas. Very decorated amateur career. Originally started with Joel Diaz, I believe, in Indio, and then has right around 8 or 9 fights. He transitioned over to Riverside to RGBA. His last fight, I believe, was August 10th, where he was the main attraction, the main event, and he took care of Antonio Orozco. I believe it was in the 6th round, 5 or 6 rounds. He was also able, being promoted by Golden Boy Promotions, he was able to get a couple fighters from the stable on the card. Hector Tanajara fought that night, and I'm drawing a blank on 2 other fighters. I think another friend of him, Hector Valdez, fought on that card, and I'm drawing a blank on the other fighter. But Vergil Ortiz, 14-0, 14 knockouts. He's got his next date. The opponent has not been named, but the date and the venue have been set. December 13th of this year. He's already back in Riverside. He's been in Riverside for the last 2 or 3 weeks training. But the date is December 13th. Opponent to be determined. One of the hottest prospects out of Golden Boy Promotions. He's made the move from 140 to 147. His last 2 fights, the fight with Mauricio Herrera was at 147, and then this fight with Antonio Orozco was at 147 as well. So Vergil Ortiz, very, very bright star out of Grand Prairie, Texas, out of the Dallas area. His dad has been his trainer his entire career. He gets help. Part of the team is Hector Beltran, an ex-fighter, and then Robert Pita Chepe and the Big G, obviously Team RGBA helped them as well. So if you want to follow Vergil, at Vergil Ortiz on Instagram. You can also follow him pretty much by his name. Search Vergil Ortiz on Twitter. He's very active on Twitter. So keep an eye out on this kid. He's very, very talented. He's probably only 21 or 22 years old, but has tons of amateur experience. So look out for a title shot for him soon. And then I was on BoxRec earlier today and noticed that an ex-RGBA fighter, Alexander Besbutin, is fighting, I think he's only 13-0, is fighting another undefeated fighter, 12-0 for the WBA world title. So maybe that's a fight. One's with Top Rank, obviously Vergil's with Golden Boy, so I don't know if that fight is possible for the future, but I believe Vergil holds the WBA gold title from the fight against Antonio Orozco. So just some other news, Alexander Besbutin was one of many Eastern European fighters that Robert was training in, with the help of Marcos Contreras, was training in Oxnard before the split, and before they came full-time to Riverside. So that's a little bit of news on Alexander Besbutin. At Vergil Ortiz on Instagram and on Twitter, and you can also follow his dad, Vergil Ortiz SR Sr. Vergil Ortiz SR on both Twitter and Instagram as well. Mikey Garcia, 39-1, 30 knockouts, has been seen in the gym. And Mikey likes to. I mean, clearly he runs to stay in shape and keep his weight down. But he's said on multiple interviews that he likes to spar to stay in shape. So, he's been seen in the gym lately, 2 or 3 times. The fight that he wants and is looking for next year is clearly Manny Pacquiao. That's the fight that excites him. There are other fights out there, that names that get thrown around, but at this point in Mikey's career, after fighting Errol Spence, the only fight that really makes sense for him is to go after the Manny Pacquiao fight. So hopefully Manny Pacquiao chooses Mikey as an opponent, but he has tons and tons of options at 147. Pacquiao has to choose from. He has Danny Garcia, he has Mikey, he has Sean Porter, he has Errol Spence, he has Terrence Crawford. So all those very talented welterweights are all options for Manny Pacquiao. At Team Mikey Garcia, if you want to follow him on Instagram. Abner Mares, 31-3-1, suffered a detached retina as he was training in January for his February 10th fight versus Tank Davis. He's been very active doing commentary on PBC on Fox, and here's a little flyer of him doing a photo booth in an event at I believe this was the day before September 28th, or actually it was on September 28th, the day of Errol Spence versus Sean Porter. So Abner Mares, 31-3-1 from Hawaiian Gardens, ex-Golden Boy promoted fighter. We'll see if he returns to the ring. At Abner Mares, if you want to follow him on Instagram. Josesito Lopez, 37-8, just had a very successful fight versus John Molina Jr. He stopped it. He was able to stop John Molina Jr. Not many people can say they've stopped John. He's very rugged and very tough journeyman. I believe he's from West Covina, California. So that puts Josesito Lopez in the running for some top contender fights at 147. At Jose Lopez, if you want to follow him, he's known as the Riverside Rocky, a local fighter from the area. Jose Carlos Ramirez, promoted by Rick Merizian and Top Rank. He's 25-0, 17 knockouts. He just unified two title belts while beating Maurice Hooker in Dallas, Texas. He donated his trunks from that fight, and it raised over $10,000, which he donated to the family of Maxim Mad Max Dadashev. So a very noble move by Jose Carlos Ramirez. Just shows you what big a heart he has. They were on one card together. So shout out to Jose Carlos Ramirez for doing something that a lot of people wouldn't do for Mad Max's family. So if you want to follow him, he is at JC Ramirez 2012. The rumor is that his next fight is against Victor Postol, February 2nd. At JC Ramirez 2012. 2012 is for the year he was in the Olympics. Erick DeLeon has said via social media that he's back in the gym training. He's even said that he's doing some sparring. His fight earlier this year was canceled. It was first it was postponed, then it was canceled. So he says that he has new news coming soon. He is from Detroit. I believe he's fought at 130 for the majority of his career. So there might be a move from 130 to 135. But definitely we'll see if he's in the running for the winner of this Vergil versus Jason Sosa fight this weekend in Los Angeles. So if you want to follow Erick DeLeon, 19-0 with one draw. That one draw was against Andy Vences. He's from Detroit. He's from Sabinas, Nuevo León, Mexico. At Team DeLeon 1 if you want to follow him. Hector Tanajara, 18-0, 5 knockouts. He is very active in the gym. He's here in Riverside as well. He's from San Antonio. He, along with Joshua Franco and Jonathan Navarro, turned pro with, I believe it was in 2015, with Robert. Very decorated amateur career as well from San Antonio. So he is the current WBC 135 youth champion. There you see him with the strap around his waist. Hopefully he and Joshua can get fights before the end of the year. Clearly they're in the gym, staying active, keeping their weight down. So we have not heard any more news on those fight dates. So more news coming soon. If you want to follow him, he's at Hector_Tanajara on Instagram. Jackson El Phoenix Marinez, 18-0, 5 knockouts. He is another Dominican Republican fighter, along with Carlos El Caballo Bronco Adames. He's a super lightweight, so he fights at 140. I think he might fight at 135. That might be a typo on my behalf. So he's at El_Phoenix. There you see him standing next to one of the McKenna brothers sparring. So more news on him coming soon. Jonathan Thunder Navarro just fought a couple weeks ago. He stopped his opponent, so he improved to 17-0, 9 knockouts. He had been on a 10-month layoff. He had taken a break from training with RGBA, so he was training by his dad. And very recently, he's been seen in Leo Santa Cruz's gym in Los Angeles. So we'll see what. Congratulations to him for another win. He's promoted by Golden Boy Promotions. There you see him with Joshua Franco. Like I said earlier in the video, those three turned pro with Robert and have been with Robert and Pita the entire time. So Jonathan Thunder Navarro, 17-0, 9 knockouts. He's from East LA. And if you want to follow him on Instagram, he's at Thunder Navarro. Carlos Licona says that he'll be fighting sometime next year. 15-1, 2 knockouts. He went down and grabbed the title at 105 and then lost it earlier this year. He is from Westminster, California. I believe he's made the move from 105 to 108. He has a very touching story about his experience there in Riverside with RGBA. So one of my favorite fighters out of the whole team, Carlos Licona, pretty much fought for free a couple times in Tijuana when he first joined the team. And then between the help of Robert and Mikey, they were able to land him a title shot last December on the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury pay-per-view card. So he became a world champion, and then I believe he defended it once, and then I think he lost it on one of his title defenses. I think he got knocked down a couple times. I don't know the details of the fight. I believe it was in February of this year, and then it might have been a 3 knockdown rule, or the referee might have waived off the fight. So he lost his title in February. I think he's came back and fought in Mexico since, but a very touching story. Came to RGBA. Robert has a very specific style and a specific tradition about how he treats his fighters, and doesn't want to give them too much attention right off the bat. Just to make sure that they're there, they're the real deal, and they're there to train and not and not and for them to be serious. So Licona had shared with his dad that at one point in training he wanted to stop going to RGBA because he felt that Robert wasn't paying too much attention to him. But his dad told him to stick it out, and sure enough, that's when the title shot came, and he actually became a world champion. So a very touching story. Another story that he shared was that his dad wanted him to focus 100% on boxing, and um, in order for him to do that, he didn't want him to have a job. So he would go around and throughout the day at home in Westminster, he'd go around the city and pick up cans in order to come up with a little bit of extra cash in order for him to give gas money to his dad to get from Westminster all the way to Riverside RGBA. Of course, when Robert found out about this, he offered Carlos Licona one of the rooms in the camp house to alleviate some of that burden of having to come up with the expenses to stay in camp and not get a job. So very, very touching story. Carlos Licona, one of my favorite fighters. Him and Izaac Colunga, for some reason, have always I don't know. I gravitated towards them, and they're some of my favorite fighters. At Mexicanito12, if you want to follow him on Instagram. Joshua El Profesor Franco, 15-1-2. He's the current WBA International and NABF champion. He's been back in the gym, like I just mentioned. Hopefully, him and Hector get a fight in December. They're Golden Boy fighters. He's at 118, so a lot of interesting fights happening around that. One of I just saw on BoxRec that the champion. I forget how to pronounce his first name, but his last name is Tete, Tete, will be making a defense of his world title by the end of this year. I believe it's in the UK. So I'm always looking at titles, where the world titles are at for all of our GBA fighters, and that Tete will be making a title defense in the UK, I believe. So a bantamweight. I'm always looking at all those bantamweight titles because there's one of the most loaded, besides 140 and 147, one of the most loaded divisions out of RGBA is 118. So at one Professor Franco, if you want to follow him on Instagram, he's from San Antonio. Joseph Adorno, 14-0, 12 knockouts. He has superseded all expectations. He is doing fantastic. He got another knockout to his record on October 18th in Philadelphia at the at Temple University. So very, 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 very doing very well. He fights at 130, I believe. I think there was extra attention on this fight because not only was he on the card, but also his little brother who improved to 3-0. That goes by Jeremy Magic Hands Adorno. So congratulations to them. They've been with RGBA. There you see Pita behind in the corner. They've been with RGBA most of their careers. They're top-ranked fighters. So at Real Joseph Adorno, if you want to follow him on Instagram. There's some pictures. There on the far left, you see them with their mask. You see their uncle in the red hair with Pita behind him. And then they took a picture with Tyson Fury. And then you see them in the ring celebrating once the fight was over. With the mask is Joseph, and then to the far right is Jeremy. Their dad is in the middle. I believe on Instagram he goes by El Entrenador de tu Entrenador. And then if you want to follow their uncle, they're in the red hair on the far left, in the far left picture, but on the right is Papito Blessed Hand on Instagram if you want to follow him. He's a very talented barber out of El Paso, Texas, if I'm not mistaken. John El Terrible Bauza was scheduled to fight on October 18th with the Adorno brothers, but for some reason the fight was canceled. But look out for him at Real John Bauza. Brandon Bulletproof Glanton improved to 11-0. He had a fight a couple weeks ago, or actually just last Saturday. He had a fight in Reading, Pennsylvania. So that was on a PBC card. Mikey and Robert helped him land dates on PBC scheduled bouts. At Team Bulletproof on Instagram if you want to follow him. Jesse Bam Rodriguez, 10-0, 6 knockouts. So I haven't done my homework, but I don't know who won between Elwin Soto, 15-1-0, and Edward Hino, 14-0-5. That is the WBO lightweight title at 108. That's the title that Bam fights at. So like I said, I'm always looking at the world title fights for these guys to see when which ones are becoming available and which ones are vacant. So I got to go back and look at who won that fight. Two other RGBA fighters fought on that night. One of the McKenna brothers and Jonathan Navarro. But I will look into it because that's a title. That's a potential title that Bam Rodriguez will be going after. At 210 Bam, he's the only Tekken promoted fighter out of the whole stable. Misael El Chino Rodriguez, 10-0, 5 knockouts. He won his fight on September 28th on the Errol Spence versus Sean Porter card. He is, like I mentioned, he's promoted along with Lindolfo Delgado by Richard Schaefer's Ringstar Sports. At Misael OTEE on Instagram if you want to follow him. Genaro El Conde Gamez suffered his first loss October 24th. Well, that's a cancel date. So his first loss was against Luis Feliciano some time ago. But hopefully he makes the move back down to 135. It sounds like that fight with Luis Feliciano was at 140. He's from San Diego. If you want to follow him, he's at Genaro Gamez on Instagram. Aaron the Silencer McKenna, 9-0, improved to 9-0. He fights at 147. That was on October 24th in Indio on Golden Boy's Thursday Night Fights. At Aaron MCK99 if you want to follow him on Instagram. Alfredo Escarcega, 8-0-1 with 4 knockouts. He is from Phoenix. He is from the F1 boxing gym there in Phoenix, Arizona. So hopefully there's more news for him. He's been fighting on Garcia promoted fights. On Instagram, you can follow him at ae.jr. Aaron Morales, there you see him on the right next to Biggie, improved to 8-0 on a PBC card in Bakersfield with a 7th round TKO victory. At Aaron_Morales, if you want to follow him, he is another fighter that fights at bantamweight 118. So from Oklahoma City, at Aaron_Morales on Instagram. Isidro Ochoa suffered his first loss of his career. He's a bantamweight southpaw. He was on the Tyson Fury card in Las Vegas, September 14th, and it sounds like the corner stopped the fight in the 6th round. So Isidro Ochoa from the Central Valley RGBA. More news on him coming soon. Robert Biggie Rodriguez, 6-0, 3 knockouts. He's scheduled to fight November 16th in San Antonio on a fight card promoted by Rick Marones. You can follow him at BiggieJR_. He's from San Antonio, Texas. I believe he's still a free agent. He's independent. Brennan B-Fly Macias is 5-0 with 2 knockouts, with 2 draws. He fought twice in the month of September. So more news on him coming soon. At B_FLY301. He's from Goodyear, Arizona, and he's affiliated with Team RGBA. Ivan Garcia, 5-0 with 5 knockouts, another bantamweight fighter. He was scheduled to fight September 6th at the Club Center events at a Garcia promoted event, but I believe his opponent was unable to pass his medical exams, so that fight was canceled. He has been seen recently in the gym, so he's staying active. At Ivan_Garcia, if you want to follow him on Instagram. He's a local fighter from Paris, California. Paris is a small city in Riverside. Ivan Garcia, 5-0, 5 knockouts, 118. Brian Lua, a very decorated amateur, started his career with Top Rank. I believe he turned pro with Robert and Pita. He's 5-0 with 2 knockouts. We haven't heard much from him. I believe he stays active in the Central Valley RGBA. But like I mentioned, he was a very decorated amateur career. I think he even beat Ryan Garcia twice in the amateurs. So he might be injury prone. I don't know. I don't have all the details, but if I ever visit RGBA soon, that'd be one of the first questions because he's very, very talented, and I'd like to know what's going on with Brian Lua. At Brian_Lua on Instagram. Evan Sanchez will be making his U.S. Pro debut at the Belasco in Los Angeles, California. He's on a Golden Boy promoted fight card on Thursday Night Fights. 5-0, 3 knockouts. He's out of the Central Valley RGBA. At Real Evan Sanchez, if you want to follow him on Instagram. Jeremy Magic Hands Adorno, 3-0. He just improved to 3-0. He, along with his brother, was on a fight card on ESPN on October 18th at Temple University in Philadelphia. At Magic Hands _ Jeremy, if you want to follow him on Instagram. Brandon Bam Bam Rios just opened up his boxing gym in Oxnard, Bam Bam Boxing Academy. You can follow them on Instagram, 35-5-1. Thank you, Brandon, for all the fights and all the excitement that you brought us to in the ring and also via RGBA, via ES News. At Brandon Rios 1, if you want to follow him on Instagram. Izaac Colunga, if you want to follow updates on him, you can follow his mom at Carrie Colunga, or his aunt Shelly _ Shell 12, or a family friend Dodger Girl 19. Izaac is back home from the rehabilitation hospital from Denver, so he's somewhere here locally. I believe he was living in Rialto before his accident. I don't have the details. I do follow his mom just to get updates on him to see what's going on. But he was the victim of a drive-by shooting. He was a very talented, decorated high school football athlete who was training with RGBA when this accident happened. So if you want to follow him, he's at team _ Colunga. Here's a picture of some of the amateurs that fight under Pita and Chepe. They've been to several tournaments this year. So overall, they got like 20 wins and something like 7 or 8 losses. So this is a picture of them after a tournament in Menifee where they went 5-1. And then very recently, they got some trophies there, some awards at the Rock Boxing Gym tournament as well. On the left, you see Carlos Escobedo, and then there you see on the right, you see Louie Coria's one of his younger brothers. So shout out to Garcia Promotions, who launched this year. They had 6 events in their first year, maybe even 10 to 12 events next year. So you can follow Zeferino Ramirez on Instagram. He is the CEO of Garcia Promotions, or follow ES News for all the future dates for Garcia promoted events. It looks like they're going between San Bernardino, a city in Southern California, and Dallas, Texas. So they're making their way in both the Southern California and Texas areas. So overall, I've tried to track all the wins and losses for the team. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, cumulative, we're up to 73 wins. They are up to 73 wins, 6 losses, and 4 draws. The amateur team has been in 7 tournaments, and they're the wins that I've been able to accumulate via Pita's Instagram is 20 wins and 6 losses. So if you want updates and follow any of the RGBA fighters or trainers, you can follow Robert at Garcia Boxing. You can follow his son Pita at Garcia _ Pita. You can follow another trainer, Chepe Contreras, at JA _ Contreras. There might be a 95 after that Contreras, if I'm not mistaken. You can follow Mikey at Team Mikey Garcia. You can follow Frank at Frantic _1. Ellie at Ellie Setback, Rainbow at TS by Rainbow, and Vergil Sr. at Vergil Sr. And of course, you can follow any of the fighters as well. So please like and subscribe on Sontail Media on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram at Sontail _ Media and Sontail _ Media. Thanks for watching.